In the spring of 1547, a 5-year-old boy was kidnapped on a forest road in central Japan. His name was Matsudaira Takechiyo. He would one day rule the entire country, but on this day he was a hostage, and his own father refused to save him. The boy had been sent east as a political pledge to the powerful Imagawa clan. On the way, an enemy lord named Oda Nobuhide seized the convoy. Nobuhide sent a message to the boy's father, Hirotada. "Cut your ties with the Imagawa, or your son dies." Hirotada's answer was silence. He would not betray his alliance. He would not save his child. Strangely, Nobuhide did not kill the boy. Instead, he kept him locked away in a temple in Nagoya for 3 years. When Takechiyo was 6, his father died. Some said he was poisoned by his own vassals. Modern historians are not so sure. And yet, this abandoned, traded, half-forgotten child would, over the next 70 years, outwait every warlord in Japan. The truth of how he did it is far stranger than any battlefield legend. When Oda Nobuhide died suddenly in an epidemic, the boy became a bargaining chip again. In 1551, the Imagawa besieged an Oda castle. A young warlord named Oda Nobunaga, yes, that Nobunaga, negotiated to hand Takechiyo over to the Imagawa as part of the deal. So at age 9, the boy was moved to the city of Sunpu. He was still a hostage, but now the lock on his cage was different. For the next 10 years, he grew up inside the household of Imagawa Yoshimoto. At 14, he came of age and took a new name, Matsudaira Motonobu. At 15, he was married to a woman of Yoshimoto's choosing and changed his name again to Motoyasu. At 16, he led his first battle, attacking a fortress called Terabe under Imagawa orders. He fought for the family that owned him. He took the names they gave him. He smiled when they wanted him to smile. But behind the smile, he was learning. He was studying every move on the board, and he was waiting for the board to tip. In the summer of 1560, Imagawa Yoshimoto marched west with 25,000 men. It was one of the largest armies anyone had seen. Motoyasu was not at the main column. He had been sent to capture a small Oda stronghold called Marune, far from the central battlefield. So he was not there when, in a sudden thunderstorm, Oda Nobunaga attacked the Imagawa camp with a fraction of the men, and killed Yoshimoto on the spot. The news reached Motoyasu by horse. He sent scouts to confirm it. Then, at midnight, he quietly withdrew from the castle he had just captured. The next day, he rode into Okazaki, his ancestral home, the castle stolen from his family before he was born. He took it back. But here is the part most people miss. His wife and infant son were still hostages in Sunpu, held by Yoshimoto's heir. So, Motoyasu kept his new alliance with Nobunaga a secret. He would not free his family by force. He would not move too fast. Once again, he waited. And yet, the next 20 years would test that patience in ways even he did not expect. Soon after, he took a new name, one we finally recognize, Tokugawa Ieyasu. To use that name, he claimed descent from the ancient Minamoto, the imperial-blooded warrior clan. The imperial court at first rejected the claim. There was no proof. So, Ieyasu found proof. A convenient genealogy turned up in the records of the Manrikoji family, and the claim was approved. For the next 20 years, Ieyasu served Oda Nobunaga as his most loyal general. He also nearly died. In early 1573, the warlord Takeda Shingen crushed Ieyasu's army at the Battle of Sekigahara. Ieyasu fled back to Hamamatsu Castle, expecting a siege. Instead, he did something almost reckless. He ordered the castle gates left wide open, torches lit, no defense visible. The Takeda generals approached, saw the open gates, and assumed it was a trap. They turned away. The bluff saved him. Months later, Takeda Shingen died of unknown causes, and the threat vanished. But Ieyasu's most dangerous opponents were still ahead. In 1582, Oda Nobunaga was assassinated by one of his own generals. The man who rose to fill the void was not Ieyasu. It was a peasant-born commander named Toyotomi Hideyoshi. After a brief power struggle, Ieyasu accepted Hideyoshi's authority, and Hideyoshi made his move. He ordered Ieyasu to leave his ancestral lands in central Japan. He sent him east, to the wild, undeveloped plains of Kanto, far from the capital, far from the Toyotomi power base in Osaka. Officially, it was a reward. In reality, it was exile. Ieyasu took the order without complaint. He arrived at a small fishing village called Edo, and he began to build. Meanwhile, Hideyoshi launched 2 massive invasions of Korea. Ieyasu, conveniently, was not asked to send his army across the sea. While other warlords burned their men and money in a foreign war, Ieyasu sat in Edo, building roads, draining swamps, training soldiers. But what he was really preparing for would not become clear for another 10 years. In 1598, Toyotomi Hideyoshi lay dying. His heir, a boy named Hideyori, was only 5 years old, the same age Ieyasu had been when he was first kidnapped. Hideyoshi knew the danger. He gathered the most powerful warlords and made them swear, again and again, to protect his son. He set up a council of regents to govern until Hideyori came of age. Then he died. Ieyasu began breaking the rules almost immediately. Hideyoshi's dying instructions forbade unauthorized marriage alliances between great lords. Ieyasu started arranging them. He gathered around him the generals who hated the Toyotomi bureaucrat Ishida Mitsunari, men like Kato Kiyomasa and Fukushima Masanori. When the regent Maeda Toshie, the one man who could balance Ieyasu, died of illness, the council collapsed. Then a regent named Uesugi Kagekatsu began building up his army in the north. Ieyasu accused him of treason. He demanded Uesugi come to court and explain himself. Uesugi refused. And just like that, Ieyasu had his excuse for war. On the morning of October 21st, 1600, 2 armies met in a narrow valley called Sekigahara. The fog was so thick that the front lines stumbled into each other by accident. Neither side had seen the other coming. The battle that followed shaped the next 250 years of Japanese history, and it lasted only about 2 hours. The historian Andō Yūichirō estimated the timeline from a letter Ieyasu wrote that same day to the warlord Date Masamune. Roughly 10 a.m. to noon. The fighting was savage, and then it broke. A young commander named Kobayakawa Hideaki, who was supposed to be on the western side, suddenly attacked his own allies. His defection collapsed the western flank in minutes. But here is what modern researchers like Jun Shiramine have argued. Hideaki had already secretly switched sides before the battle started. So had several other western generals: Wakisaka, Ogawa, Akaza, Kutsuki. They had been in contact with Ieyasu's commanders for days. Even the mighty Mori clan had a vassal, Kikawa Hiroye, who had promised not to fight. So one question haunts historians today. Was Sekigahara a real battle, or was it a performance, an outcome already written in secret letters dressed up as fate? In 1603, the imperial court named Tokugawa Ieyasu Shōgun. This title, the supreme military ruler of Japan, required Minamoto bloodline. The genealogy he had quietly arranged 40 years earlier now paid off in full. 2 years later, he resigned the title in favor of his son. He had not retired. He still ran the government in everything but name. But the message was clear. The shogunate now belonged to the Tokugawa family. It was hereditary. It was theirs. He redistributed land worth nearly 7 million koku of rice, vast wealth, among his allies, often without a formal letter. The historian Watanabe Daimon suspects this was deliberate, because one piece on the board was still standing. Toyotomi Hideyori, now a grown man, still lived in Osaka Castle, still commanded loyalty, still represented the old regime. Ieyasu waited 14 more years. He waited until the moment was perfect. He died in 1616, having outlived every rival, every enemy, every friend. So who was Tokugawa Ieyasu? A patient strategist? A cold opportunist? A man who treated time itself as a weapon? Perhaps all three. The boy who was kidnapped at 5 spent the next 70 years learning one lesson: that the one who waits longest is the one who wins. And the country he built